What should the world expect from the 11th Review Conference of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty? The honest answer is not a triumph defense of the treaty, but a global argument over whether the treaty still deserves the loyalty it demands. The conference is expected from 27th April to 22nd May 2026 in New York. It opens after two failed review conferences, a deadlocked 2025 preparatory meeting, the expiry of New START, expanding nuclear arsenals, and growing disputes over Iran, Ukraine, and attacks on nuclear facilities. That is not the backdrop of a healthy treaty. It is the backdrop of a treaty under stress. Let us be fair before we get blunt. The NPT still matters. It has 191 state parties and remains the central framework of global non-proliferation. Its bargain is simple. Most states agree not to build nuclear weapons. The recognized nuclear weapon states agree to pursue disarmament. All parties retain the right to peaceful nuclear technology under safeguards. But here is where the legitimacy crisis begins. The treaty only recognizes as nuclear weapon states those that tested before 1st January 1967. In plain language, the system throws a hierarchy into law. The nuclear haves kept the status, the haves not kept the obligations. Everyone was told that this was temporary in spirit, even if unequal in form. Decades later, many states no longer buy that argument. That is why the debate at the conference will not just be about the technical compliance, it will be about credibility. In fact, 2025 chair's recommendations had to restate an obvious point that should never have needed restating, that indefinite extension of the treaty does not mean indefinite possession of nuclear weapons. That sentence alone tells you how deep the frustration runs. Look at the strategic reality. SIPRI estimated that the 9 nuclear-armed states held around 12,241 nuclear weapons at the start of 2005. All of them continued modernization or expansion. The New START expired on 5th Feb 2026, leaving the United States and Russia without legally binding limits on the strategic arsenals for the first time in more than half a century. So the major powers are upgrading their forces while asking everyone else to keep trusting restraint. That is the contradiction at the heart of this conference. The first major fight will be over Article 6 and the disarmament deficit. The NPT is not only about preventing proliferation, it is about good faith movement towards disarmament. Non-nuclear states are increasingly tired of hearing that disarmament is a long-term goal while nuclear states modernize year after year with no serious urgency. The second fight will be over negative security assurances. This is one of the most important issues and one of the most neglected. Negative security assurances are promises by nuclear-armed states not to use or to threaten the use of nuclear weapons against non-nuclear states. The idea dates back to 1960s, yet non-nuclear states were never given a universal legally binding guarantee. Instead, they go political declarations and selective wording. Pakistan has pushed this issue for decades, and did so again in 2025 at the Conference on Disarmament. The argument is simple and powerful. If non-nuclear states are expected to remain permanently non-nuclear, then they must receive credible and enforceable protection in return. Otherwise, the bargain looks one-sided. And recent history has made that issue far more urgent. Ukraine gave up nuclear weapons and still ended up devastated. Iran is an NPT signatory, yet it was attacked by the United States, while Israel, which helped drive Washington towards that attack, still stands outside the NPT. This is exactly why so many states now feel that the treaty does not shield the vulnerable, it disciplines them. That is the larger haves and haves not debate. Supporters of the treaty say it prevented widespread proliferation. That is true. Critics say it has become a system of permanent nuclear privilege. That is also true. If the nuclear powers keep their arsenals, resist binding security assurances, and treat peaceful nuclear rights as conditional, then the treaty starts to look less like a grand bargain and more like a nuclear caste system. This is also why support has grown for the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons. Many states are not just frustrated with the pace of disarmament, they're questioning whether the NPT order is fair at all. So what outcomes should we expect from this review conference? Best case, a thin consensus document with familiar language about the 3 pillars: peaceful uses, risk reduction, and support for the review process. More likely a weak text so vague that everyone claims victory, or another failure to reach consensus altogether. The future of the NPT will depend on whether the nuclear halves finally accept that non-proliferation cannot survive forever on inequality, ambiguity, and delay. If that does not change, the treaty may survive on paper, but it will keep losing belief in practice. And once states stop believing in bargain, they start looking for protection elsewhere. This is the real danger facing the 11th Review Conference.